Good evening. I'm Ron Nowacek, President of Frostburg State University, and thank you for joining this evening's virtual town hall. I want to thank those that have joined us. I assume there are a number of folks on the line that are current students or families of current students, and so welcome back, Bobcats. Glad to have you with us this evening. I hope we have some incoming students for this fall and their families interested in learning more about Frostburg State. And if there are anybody out there who hasn't made a decision yet for taking a look at Frostburg State, thank you for being with us. I'm going to try to use this time to help work through some information that may be of interest to you, answering some of the questions. First of all, I want to thank many of you who've submitted questions. We received well over 200 questions from students, families, and friends of the university. And I assure you, we are going to be responding to those items in a FAQ, frequently asked question format. And we'll also be responding to those as best we can in today's, this evening's responses to what we see going on with the university coming up this fall. There were certain themes that emerged from the questions, and I would like to work through some of those this evening with you. We'll try to keep this as informal in a virtual format as we can. I'm joined with several of my vice presidents here tonight. We have our Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost, Mike Mathias, here, who will be answering some questions about academics. Vice President Artie Travis, who is our Vice President for Student Life, has joined us. We have our Vice President for Administration and Finance, Leon Wyden. And we also have our Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Success. And for those of you that are coming in for the first time into Frostburg, you may recognize her name in some of the letters she sent you, Arlene Cash. So as we go through the evening, go through some of the questions, we'll try to make sure that they get a chance to answer some of the questions that you've posed and fill you in on where we are for planning for the fall, because we know there's a lot of uncertainty, a lot of questions people are asking, and we're going to try to give you the best we can where we are today. I will couch this with the fact that I think you need to understand, I think everybody is appreciative of this. It's a moving target. There's a lot of changes. We're monitoring things that are changing on a day-to-day basis, but we're seeing things coming together well enough now to have a pretty good sense of what we see happening here at Frostburg State for the fall semester. And that's what I'd like to share with you and answer some of the questions that you may have raised. I'm going to start this off by sharing with you my two priorities. And the priorities are pretty simple. One is the safety of the campus. That means the faculty, the staff, and the students, as well as visitors to campus, to ensure that we have as safe a campus as we possibly can. We cannot guarantee, the ultimate safety, that there will never be a case of the coronavirus here on campus, but we can take actions to minimize it as much as we possibly can. And I want you to know that in doing that, we're relying quite a bit on the University System of Maryland. As many of you probably know, we're one of 12 schools in the University System of Maryland. We're fortunate that one of those schools is the University of Maryland, Baltimore, which hosts and holds our medical school. There's a number of health experts that have been guiding us and helping us understand some of the issues we need to be thinking about as we move to the fall semester. And they actually helped us quite a bit in the spring as well, when we made the decision to go from face-to-face to online. Those medical experts are part of the group that's also advising Governor Hogan in what the state should be doing. And they're also involved in, because of location, involved in working with the CDC and working with federal officials in Washington, D.C. So I feel confident we're getting some very good advice as to what we need to be thinking about to ensure the safety of the campus. And I'll briefly talk about some of the safety issues when we get to the thing about screening, testing, and contact tracing. I also want you to know that the second priority is to have as close to a normal residential experience as we possibly can for students. I have to put normal in quotations. We have decided not to be an online campus in its entirety for the fall semester. We made a decision to try to be as much of a residential campus as we possibly can. The reason being is that we want to give the students that full experience in a safe environment. So student success to us is very important. And working through that has caused us to take a step back, quite honestly, in terms of what we're going to be offering in the fall, how we're offering it, and what student schedules may look like. And I know that's created some angst and some anxiety among individuals as to what their class schedule might be. What I will assure you is that we are working to offer the courses that we said we would offer. We want to keep students on track to graduate. And at the same time, we want to give students the opportunity to succeed at what they're doing and do it in a safe environment, but also as a rich and academic environment as we possibly can. And Vice President and Provost Mike Mathias will speak to that in a couple minutes. I also want to share with you that we have a steering committee that is fairly robust. It's 12 different subgroups working on all sorts of issues for the campus. Some involve the academic side, some are involved with student life, others are involved with facilities. There are people involved with the health side of the equation. So they're in visitors, all sorts of things, cultural events, athletics, a lot of different moving parts to this. That group is meeting regularly, as well as the administration is meeting regularly with my counterparts. I'm meeting with my counterparts as well as the other vice presidents, meeting with their counterparts in the system. So we're moving forward together on this, trying to navigate uncertain times for the fall. One of the things I do want to share with you is I do want to thank people for, sending us questions. And I will be honest that some of the questions you sent us this week have taken me back at least a step to say, we're hearing questions that cause me pause and say we had some unanswered areas we hadn't thought about. One of the things that was clear is that there were a lot of questions that came in were individual issues that individuals are facing, families are facing, or students are facing with regard to decisions we're making. What I want to assure you is that in the old days, the normal days a year ago, you could have picked up the phone and gotten somebody and talked with somebody, stopped on campus and talked with somebody. I'm very pleased that one of the things we're known for is that personal touch. Well, we can't do that today. If you called, you may not get an answer immediately on the phone. You certainly may have difficulty finding people on campus, but we do have email. And so what I'm asking, and I'm going to share this again at the end of the meeting, if you as a family or a student have a question about something that's individual to you, that you really want to have some discussion and have some dialogue with some individuals on campus, please send an email to us at fall2020@frostburg.edu. We will try to get back to you within one business day, if not 2 business days, but as soon as we can, to at least begin the dialogue with you, to ask what the questions are, to see if we can come up with a solution to help you, or if you're a student, to help you as a student, or as a family, if you're interested, to answer questions you may have, to what we can do to help answer some of those questions that you have with regard to the fall semester. At the end of the day, what's really critical, and again, I'm going to come back to that student success thing. What I want to make sure happen is if you're here as a student, and here being either here on campus, or if we find that you're going to do some things online, or we're going to look at other alternatives, that you're working towards your degree. That to me is the most important thing that we need to be facing. So that will be something that I think I want to assure you we care about. And so it's very important that you reach out to us. Please give us your contact information, phone number or email address, however you'd like to be, or text how you'd like to be contacted, so we can get in contact with you and understand better what your situation might be. In terms of safety, I want to offer one thing. We are going to follow the CDC guidelines for higher education institutions, as well as state guidelines. That you can be assured of. Those guidelines continue to evolve as we learn more about the virus and we understand better the situation and environment we're in. I'll give you one very quick example. In terms of testing, 2 months ago, if you had asked me what we were going to do in testing, the sense of the college campuses that we would be testing on a regular basis for the virus. Now the guidelines we're getting from health experts is that maybe an initial test is essential, but that continued testing may not be unless environmental changes warrant that we need to do that. So we are looking at testing to ensure that people, when they return to campus, are safe, and that includes faculty, staff, and students. What does that actually mean at this point? We haven't yet worked through. We do know that we want to make sure that people coming back are virus-free, at least at the time when they come back to campus. As I think many of you understand, if you've been following the situation, you know that that test is only as good as that day when a person takes it. We are going to be doing quite a bit of screening. In fact, we've been doing screening on campus already. We've opened up the campus for some of our workers to come back, and some of the staff, maintenance people are having their temperature, for instance, checked every day. Anybody coming back on campus is expected to complete a screening questionnaire. So we will be paying attention to screening as well during the academic year. And lastly, contact tracing is the third thing that people talk about. If there is a case that is identified, how do you identify individuals who may have come in contact with that person? We will be relying on the Department of Health to do the contact tracing for us. They're trained to do it. That is their responsibility. They have the individuals that are capable for doing it. The important thing is that what we've learned is that it's important to get to those individuals within 24 hours. So again, please be assured we are going to take every action we can with regard to the safety of the campus. If we didn't feel we could be safe at opening the campus, we would not be opening the campus this fall. But clearly we have a sense from what we're hearing from the health experts that we can create a safe environment here out in Western Maryland for the fall semester. Now, I'd like to do is hit into some specifics about academics first, because there was a lot of questions in that area. We decided on an early start date and an early finish date. We've decided to start the semester on August 17, which will allow us to finish the semester prior to Thanksgiving. And some institutions have made a decision to go online after Thanksgiving. We have decided not to. We've compressed our schedule into a point where we're going to be able to fit in all 15 weeks of the semester. We're looking at going to school on Labor Day, having classes on Labor Day, having exams on the Saturday before Thanksgiving. But by reworking the schedule, we're able to complete the entire fall semester, the 15 weeks we normally would do, with breaks, and doing it in 15 weeks. And so we'll be able to complete the semester prior to Thanksgiving. And that enables people then to go home for Thanksgiving and not worry about returning, worry about anybody perhaps bringing the virus back after the holidays, after Thanksgiving and so on. So that was one of the things we made that decision to do. A couple of the other state schools have decided to do that as well, one starting earlier, another one starting after us, but a number of schools across the country have made that decision. One of the questions that did come up, a number of people asked the question is, what are we going to do about a situation where we may have the virus coming in like we did in March and the state asking us to close down? If we do that, we're asking faculty to prepare to go online. And so again, we would do much like we did this fall semester or the spring semester, switch over to an online from residential life, a residential campus to an online campus. We are hoping that by finishing things by Thanksgiving, we'll be able to get the fall semester in, even if there is a second wave. Again, we'll be monitoring that as we move forward, but that's one of the scenarios we are building in. That gets us into the fact that we are going to have to adjust and make some adjustments for the health guidelines. Social distancing will be important on campus. We are adjusting classrooms so that we can have greater social distancing. Teaching methods that Mike may talk about in a couple minutes. We'll be looking at doing variations of using technology along with what we might call synchronous teaching, as well as face-to-face teaching in the classrooms. We are looking at whether or not we're going to need to take any additional things of creating different class schedules, different class starting times to avoid a congregation of students in large groups. We certainly expect at this point that everybody will be wearing face masks. And we have some really nice designs of Frostburg State University face masks that we'll be providing to faculty, staff, and students when they come back on campus. As I've seen it, and I'm sure throughout the state, we're getting more and more comfortable, unfortunately, with wearing face masks when we're out in public, but we anticipate that happening this fall as well. At this point, what I want to do is turn this over to Mike and let him spend a couple minutes sharing with you some of what he's learning from the faculty and what the academic leadership is doing as far as moving forward for the fall semester.
Thanks, Dr. Nowacek, and good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Mike Mathias, Interim Provost and VP for Academic Affairs, and I want to tell you more about what the academic experience at Frostburg is going to be like this fall. Nearly all of our courses will be offered in a blended format. Although, right, we normally offer some courses fully online, and we will have some fully online offerings. Again, the vast majority of our courses will be offered in a blended format. And a blended format involves a very carefully planned combination of in-class and online learning activities. The balance between in-class activities and online activities, and what the activities that take place in the classroom and online are, will vary from discipline to discipline and from course to course and from instructor to instructor. But all students should expect that they're going to be constantly interacting with their instructors and with their fellow students, both in a classroom environment and in an online environment as well. And there are a lot of advantages to this blended approach to course offerings. It's going to allow us to significantly reduce class sizes and thereby maximize social distancing. And it's going to expand access to the classes, so students can have discussions about issues not just in the classroom, but also through discussion boards in an online format as well. So students can participate in courses in more ways by utilizing both technology and to supplement the classroom experience. And because blended courses already have a very substantial online presence, if circumstances do evolve and we need to move to an online format, that transition will go much more smoothly and much more quickly because instructors will again already have a very strong and substantial online presence. And maybe most importantly, right, there's a lot of research that indicates that a blended modality, because it utilizes or leverages what is best about both the classroom experience and the online experience, has much better student outcomes than a fully face-to-face approach or a fully online approach. What's your classroom going to look like? Well, number one, there's going to be a lot fewer students in it, right? So one of our key strategies for promoting social distancing is going to be using a split attendance or a rotating attendance approach. So imagine a course that's scheduled to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays. With a split attendance approach, maybe half of the students would be attending the class on Tuesday and the other half of the class would be attending on the Thursday. Every academic building on campus has a team of faculty and staff working on plans to direct traffic flows, to control entryways and exitways, to reconfigure classroom furniture. And in some cases, right, we might move a course from one classroom to another classroom where we're able to better maximize social distancing. There are some special spaces on campus that students asked about. So science laboratories, performing arts spaces, studio arts spaces, and the library. And we have specific task groups working on each one of those special spaces, to develop protocols and guidelines for utilizing the space in an effective and safe way. In addition to guidance from the CDC and the state and local health officials, our faculty colleagues are reaching out to their professional organizations to learn about best practices for these special spaces. So for example, faculty working with the American Chemical Society to think about best protocols for a chemistry lab. Some students asked in their questions about academic standards for the fall, right? So returning students will know that in the spring term, we offered students an option between two different types of grading for their final course grade. Students could opt for a traditional ABC letter grade or for a pass, no credit grade. And we also modified our academic standards related to academic warnings, probation, and dismissals. And those temporary changes to our policies and processes were appropriate given the circumstances that we faced in the spring, right? It was a very quick transition and a very unexpected transition. So we thought it appropriate to make some modification to our grading and academic standards policies. Because we know what we're looking at going into the fall semester, right? Because we have a good sense of what we're going to be doing through the fall semester, we're going to be returning to our normal grading policies and academic standards and approaches. So students did want to know about that, and that's the plan. So to close, let me just say, right, FSU's faculty are absolutely committed to providing each and every student with an outstanding academic experience. The faculty are working hard right now to prepare their courses and their classrooms for you. And I can assure you, like at the beginning of every academic year, this fall, they'll welcome you back to campus with tremendous energy and enthusiasm. Thanks. And if you do have questions about academics, again, Dr. Nowacek can share that email address with you again at the end of the presentation, and be happy to be responsive to any of those in our FAQs and other communications going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it. What I want to do is share, thanks again, Mike, for that. I want to share with folks, Mike mentioned again, that email is fall2020@frostburg.edu. Mike touched on something that I've been, while Mike was speaking, I looked through some of the questions we've been getting on the meeting chat, and I appreciate people sending the questions forward. There are some students that I heard from who say they can't wait to get back to campus. They missed the spring. They didn't enjoy being away from campus and looking forward to coming back. There's also, however, a segment of students who are saying, I'm really fearful about coming back to campus, or I'm not sure I want to come back to campus. Can I study online? That's why you need to use that fall2020@frostburg.edu. If you have questions and you want to know, is your schedule going to be one that would allow you to study from home? Contact us through that email. Tell us what your concern is and give us your contact information. We will work to get an academic advisor to talk with you about your schedule. I will be very honest about this. In some instances, we may be able to accommodate that. In other cases, we may try to work with you to take some classes online from Frostburg State and some online courses from UMGC, the University of Maryland Global Campus, that we know will help keep you on track to graduate. We will do the best we can on being able to do that, but we, quite frankly, will not have the ability to offer everything online and everything face-to-face in that blended format. So we will work with you to help make sure that you stay successful. My commitment to you is I would rather you have that year away from this campus, whether you're studying at a community college, doing some courses online, rather than coming to campus and being frightened of being here and not being ready or not being successful in your year here. So our commitment is we're going to be here as a residential campus. We will be here for students. We will be doing the best to create a safe campus here. But if you feel like even with that, you're not certain you want to be here, work with us. We will be glad to help keep you on track to graduate and look for options that we can share with you that will help you do an online semester either in the fall or an online semester in the fall and spring. So feel free to reach out to us. The door is open. We're here to help you. That was one of the things I think we learned over the last couple of days. There are a number of individuals that are asking for alternatives. We will see what we can do with you, with working with you and your family to come up with those alternatives. So feel free to reach out to us. I know there's several questions that came up with this. We are not forcing people to come back. We are looking to see how can we help structure your schedule so we can give you the best academic experience we can in the fall in a manner that you feel safe in terms of your studies. There's several other questions we'll come back to. I'm going to get to some of these as we go through some of the other issues. Questions about the fitness center and GAs and things like that. And I'll get to those in a few minutes. But I do want to get to the question. One question did come up again about safety is we are doing the same thing for faculty and staff that I would do for students. If a student feels they are at risk because they have a medical condition that may result in them being at risk for the virus, you need to let us know that. We will keep it confidential, but we will work with you to see what we can do in terms of the study moving forward. We're doing the same thing for faculty and staff. We're hoping to minimize the opportunities for people to be exposed to the virus anyway, but for those that are at risk, either because of age or medical conditions, or having somebody that's in their household that may be at risk, please let us know. For faculty and staff, we talked with them this morning. We're developing a protocol for that as one of our working groups, but it's the same thing for students. We want to help make sure you're safe. Your health is the most important thing for us moving forward. So again, look for some information on that, or send us a note that you need to talk to somebody confidentially about, you know, whether you feel safe coming back to campus because of medical conditions. We'll follow up with that in an appropriate fashion with you. Now I want to do basically is go over to student life, because that's the other side of with a lot of questions that come up about student life. And what I'd like to do is share a slide with you that shows you what we're doing in terms of residence halls, and you'll be hearing from Vice President Artie Travis in a second. But one of the things we've done, and again, the advice from the medical experts basically said the thing, if you want to reduce the risk most, don't have anybody living on campus. They said if you want to take the biggest risk, do what you've always been doing. They said if you want to mitigate the risk or reduce the risk, do something where you move to singles in the rooms, which is what we're doing this year. All of our rooms on campus will be singles this upcoming year for students who live on campus. We have a requirement and expectation that first year and second year students who have not been exempted from living on campus do live on campus. We know that it's critical for especially first year students to have that experience, not of just living on campus, but having the programming that goes on, student programming that goes on the campus to help them succeed in moving from high school to college. So what we've done is, and you've seen this on our website already, we've taken our residence halls and we basically put them into 5 groupings. There are some upper quad residence halls that were renovated in 2010, but have community bathrooms. Those are the ones that will be priced between $2,850 and $3,000 a semester. Annapolis and Cumberland is our next level up. Those are ones that have been recently renovated and have private bathrooms at the end of the halls. Frederick and Westminster, next level up, suite style with bathrooms and air conditioning. Our new residence hall, which will be opening up, we're just finishing it up right now. Furniture is being moved in this week, in fact, to the new one, has suite style with multiple configurations and air conditioning. And then we have Edgewood Commons, which is privately owned. It's apartment style with air conditioning. This is what we offer on campus. And so we are going to be working with, Dr. Travis can speak to this in a bit. We're working to try to make this affordable. We've reduced the prices on most of these residence halls, on our existing residence halls. We've taken down from what was a singles rate to a new rate. Then in some cases, we've actually reduced our singles rate even further in the case of Cumberland from what it was last year to help make it affordable. We understand the questions of finances and the concerns that people have. What we're also doing, and this is part of the CARES Act, if an individual is eligible, that is Title IV eligible for federal funding, for federal assistance, we are going to set aside some CARES Act money that students can request because of our decision to go from doubles to singles. And we're setting aside $375, which comes out to $25 a week to provide that assistance. But students will have to request that, and the money will be provided to the students directly, and not to their bills, but we'll provide it directly to the students. We will allow students to carry a balance on their bills. I do not intend for people to want to go out and take loans to cover part of the bill, knowing that they're going to get the CARES Act money. And that CARES Act money will be available both semesters. So we're going to do it on a semester by semester basis. Again, I'm going through a lot of details quickly. I know if you have questions on that, you can reach out to us and we'll work through it and try to explain it to you in greater detail. Questions have come up about off-campus housing. We will be meeting with landlords. Unfortunately, I do not have control over what landlords do or what goes on off campus. Some people were asking about safety off campus. Our police, and one of the things I'll be doing early on in this semester is spending time talking with students off campus about what we hope will be responsible behavior on their part moving forward this semester, and practicing good behavior with regard to the social distancing and the health guidelines that we hear from the health experts. I was pleased in the spring that we found the behavior of our students' interactions very responsible. We had a number of students who came back after spring break. We did not get complaints about what students were doing. The behavior there was, they were showing good behavior, which I'm very pleased of, and it's really a testament to the quality and the maturity of our students. But we will be working as best we can off campus, but assure you that we're in contact with the city officials. The mayor and I meet regularly. We've been talking about off-campus housing coming up. We will have discussions with landlords about it, but we will, and again, our law enforcement will work with the city law enforcement to help students understand their behaviors, what's appropriate, and help people work through it. I will also share, as a matter of fact, in this, that we will be expecting students to sign, as well as faculty and staff, to go through a brief tutorial on the importance of social distancing and good behavior, what we expect in the classroom. I quite frankly anticipate that everybody will follow along. Nobody wants to get this virus, and I think what we'll see is responsible behavior on the parts of individuals. But we will be monitoring. If there are violations, we have a judicial conduct board that handles that for students, and there are policies in place for disciplinary actions if it's staff or faculty. So at this point, that's the negative side. I hope we don't have to deal with that. What I'd like to do is introduce Artie Travis, our VP for Student Life, and let him say a few words too about what he sees happening in terms of student life on campus. Artie? This is that time, Artie, when I have to tell you, please unmute.
Okay. Good afternoon, parents and students, and thank you, Dr. Nowalczyk, for that introduction. I want to just be brief as possible so there's more time to answer questions, but I believe and reiterate some of the points that the president's made, that the impact on Frostburg in higher education, again, is no different than other campuses. Target keeps moving, and as the target keeps moving, this administration, which involves the president, the cabinet, student leaders, faculty, and staff, we're doing the best to be responsive as possible. We can't eliminate the risk because COVID is here, but we're doing everything we can to mitigate and reduce the risk as we prepare to have you come back onto the campus. And as the provost and president has said, we want each and every student to come back to Frostburg to be Bobcats in an outstanding residential experience in the classroom and out of the classroom. So as we move forward, we in Student Affairs will continue to do everything we can to make sure that you have an out of the classroom experience that is what every Bobcat should expect and every Bobcat graduate has gotten once they graduate from Frostburg State. I want to say that our residence hall program, they've been working feverishly over the last 2 or 3 months to try to prepare. One of the decisions, as has already been said, is that we need to reduce the density in the residence halls. That's why we converted to singles. And that was going to be the best way that we possibly can do social distancing. We have done an outstanding job working with Vice President Wyden and his crew with facilities and housekeeping and the Residence Life program to make sure that we're doing extensive training for the housekeepers, for the maintenance folks, to make sure that safety and health of the Residence Life staff, the housekeeping staff, facility, and the residents of the halls will be safe. We will be providing masks and asking all students, whenever they're in a public area, to make sure that they're wearing mask coverings whenever they're outside their rooms. We're looking and asking our staff to make sure that they're monitoring the traffic that's going in and out of the rooms. And of course, you've already heard that we're going to be closing up the lounge areas and areas where there'll be a lot of social interaction. We're going to try to limit the number of guests that are in the halls to make sure that we're saying to you, when you drop your child off or whatever, that we're going to do everything we can to make sure they're going to be safe. We're going to also make sure, and as the president has indicated, every faculty, staff, employee on the campus will get just once again another overview on how to make sure that we provide ourselves with some personal protections and safety. We are also, and we continue to work with the director of our health center, continues to work with the Allegheny County Health Department to monitor and to work with tracing on the campus, how to respond if there is a positive case, and just to provide the overall wellness and health to each and every student that their responsibility to serve. And again, we're going by CDC rules, local and state guidelines, but again, we've got a direct call, a direct line with our health center. We are also looking at how we make sure that that the housing option, again, as you saw on the chart earlier from the president, that first-year students are required to stay on campus and second-year students, unless they have an exception. You can see that there's options available for freshmen and returning students at some of our less expensive residence halls as well as our higher halls. You know, we're trying to make sure that we take that in consideration because we didn't want individuals not to have options, not to have choices. In student affairs, we believe in trying to provide options and choices. You will know already, you will know that we are starting on the 17th. Our move-in will start processing on August 12th. And each and every student will be given an assigned time to come to campus because we're trying again to lower the number of people that are moving into the residence halls at the same time. If there's an issue or concern with your assigned date, please call Residence Life, and then they will do their best to try to make sure that we have an accommodation. We're going to have an outstanding social life on the campus, if it's virtual, if it's social distance, but we're going to have an outstanding. But there are going to be requirements based on CDC rules, guidelines as far as gatherings on what types of things. We're not going to have any large parties this fall at least, but we will have our regular SGA meetings, working with our students to make sure that they are moving forward with their role and responsibility. We will have our leadership programs. We'll have other opportunities, be they virtual or safe distance apart, to make sure that you have an outstanding Bobcat experience. We will continue to make accommodations when we need to make those accommodations, but first and foremost, we want to give you an outstanding residential experience under the conditions that we are living in at this point in time.
Thanks, Artie. Thank you, Artie, for that. And again, looking through some of the questions that were coming up here, I'm going to deal with some of these in a second. One of the questions, will the mask be N95 certified? We're following the guidelines that are provided by the healthcare experts. At this point, they have not told us that we need N95 certified face masks on campus. If individuals have those and want to use those are fine. But at this point, again, we're watching what the health experts will tell us, and we're following that. There was also a question about students going home on weekends and they will be tested. We'll look into that. We're hoping students stay on campus. Obviously, anytime you leave, you run the risk of bringing it back, depending on where you go. And again, so we'll be asking health experts for their advice as to what we do with regard to working with individuals who may go home on a weekend. You know, we hope you will not, students will not, and they will stay here for the period of time. But we will, again, be putting out some guidelines and expectations as we move forward on that. I want to spend a little time talking about, because there were several questions about budget. I'll briefly touch on that, and then I want to talk about some of the other topics, including athletics and campus events and so forth. But several questions came up about tuition and fees. You should know that the tuition and fees are likely going to stay the same as they were last year. The Board of Regents makes that decision for all of the state schools. We are planning and expecting that they will, in fact, hold tuition and tuition and mandatory fees to the level they were last year, and that meal plans will also be at the rate they were last year. Our room rates have already been reviewed by the system and been approved by the system. In fact, they've recommended some other schools to take a look at our model, where we've been able to at least try to reduce it from a single rate to one thing that's more manageable for the students. So with regard to tuition and mandatory fees, you can expect that that rate will be the same as it was last year, and meal plan rates will be the same. The meal plan dates will be the same as they've been in previous. We have 15 weeks. We have a food contract with a large national company called Chartwells that has food service across the country, a number of institutions across the country. We're working with them to identify exactly what they'll be providing, how they will be setting up the food. We anticipate it will be, again, with social distancing, but that the Chesapeake Dining Hall as well as Appalachian Station will be providing food there. We'll have more information as that develops. But again, we will be offering the meal plans to individuals. I don't see it being just a takeout only situation, but rather one where we will be able to provide, they're working through the details, but provide food service in a safe environment, as long as, again, the state is allowing in residence dining. Again, it's no different than what we're seeing with some of the other, last semester when they closed many of the fast food restaurants, we were forced to close as well. But we will follow the state guidelines, again, as to what we need to be doing. That also gets into a question several people asked about GA contracts, some graduate students asking about graduate assistantships. We're working through that work study, same thing. We know that we are going to be facing a budget challenge because our funding from the state will likely not be at the same level it was last year. And in order to make up that difference, we have to take a look at what we will be reducing in terms of services on campus and what we will be able to do to help make sure that we are still providing, that we're good stewards of the funds that the state is giving us and providing the opportunities that we've had in the past. So every institution, I will tell you, in the state right now is looking at how are we going to budget moving forward. That's caused all of us to slow down a bit in terms of making decisions that we typically would have made already in terms of where we are in terms of hiring for the fall semester with graduate assistants as well as some of our part-time faculty. We're working through that. A lot of it will depend on what our needs are. And as I say, people have been talking about online blended learning. We're going to have to look at where the demand is for the courses and then be able to identify personnel to make sure that we're meeting the needs that we expect, that we need to fulfill our expectations here on campus. Questions about athletics. That's actually one of the brighter spots here. We're following, again, recommendations from the NCAA and as well as our Mountain East Conference. We anticipate to be playing sports, all of our fall sports this fall. We are going to be on a little bit of a delay. We're not going to start until September 13th. The Mountain East Conference has made a decision that we are going to be playing, at least for the fall, all the sports will be within conference, all the competitions, which gives us the advantage of having some control over what our expectations are of the visiting teams and the coaches and so forth with regard to testing and so on prior to competitive events, and also providing a safe environment for competitive events. That's all being worked out. Again, NCAA is providing a lot of guidance to us. We're working to make sure that the athletes are safe. We are taking a very careful look at what's happening right now as D1 athletics, especially in football, brings back their athletes to see what actions, what can we learn, what lessons can we learn from them with regard to testing and getting student athletes acclimated back again. We know a lot of the student athletes are very interested in getting back, with their teammates, and also getting involved in athletics. We want to do that in a safe environment. All indications at this point are that we are going to be playing our fall sports, and spring sports. We're working through those schedules right now, but that's where we are right now on the sports. Questions about fan attendance. We haven't worked through that yet. We're going to have to, again, follow what guidance we get from the governor and what we see going on within the conference. My best guess is that if we do, especially for outdoor events, the best we can hope for is that we're going to be requesting people to wear masks and have a social distancing rule, which may reduce the capacity that we can hold in some of our events. But we'll cross that bridge when we know more about where the NCAA is going in terms of its recommendations. Related to that is also campus events. I want to speak briefly about campus events, especially student performance. Our theater students, our students in music, interested in also involved in performances. I've been in contact along with Provost Matthias and the Dean of the college with the chairs of both music and theater, looking at what can we do in terms of productions in the fall and performances in the fall. Can we put those on? How do we do it? Do we have to look at outdoor performances? Can we do indoor performances with social distancing? Are certain performances going to lend itself more readily to doing performances live than others? Those are questions we're wrestling with. My commitment right now is that I want to have the student performances this fall. Again, it's so critical to being part of the normal part of being on campus. And as many of you know, especially if you're in Western Maryland, Frostburg State serves as a cultural hub for this region. And the community really relies on being able to attend events, performances, not only athletic events, but performances for our students in theater and in music. So we want to be able to provide that to the community. Quite frankly, we've gone through enough in this country. We're going through so much in this country over the last several months between the issues with the virus and other things that are happening nationally that we need that cultural event. We need that opportunity to come together to relieve some of the stress and anxiety we're all experiencing. And I think the opportunities, we need to present those opportunities for students and also for the community to enjoy some of the things that our students do. So my commitment right now is that we're going to find ways to make that happen in a safe environment for the student performers. And somebody asked the question just yesterday, they said, well, if you're testing athletes, are you going to test students who are in theater productions? The answer is yes. I mean, again, we want to make sure people are safe for the environment, you know, for the things they're doing here. We want to take care of not only the performers, but also the audience. We'll find ways. We've got some ingenious ideas and some individuals who've got some really great ideas about what things we might be able to do that we hadn't done before that we're going to explore moving forward. So please understand that that's something we're going to be trying to do. Dining hall, I did talk a little bit about. We're working with Chartwells on that. Some people are asking about commencement. We have not made any decisions with regard to commencement until we know more from the governor as to whether we can hold events, commencement events. We've talked about the possibility of doing some of these outdoors. Some of you may have heard that the transmission of the virus is much less in an outdoor environment with social distancing. It's safer than indoors. We're looking at a lot of different alternatives. Again, we'll work through that and give you answers when we have them, but at this point, we don't have many of those answers yet. And I guess one thing I want to do then, I guess, also give opportunity for Vice President Cash to talk a little bit about, who's our Vice President for Enrollment Management and also for Student Success, to talk a little bit about what she sees coming forward in the fall and some of the questions she's been getting. I did see some questions about whether we have some student success coaches. I'm glad to see that a number of people found those student success coaches to be helpful to them this past semester. Again, the word student success is there for a reason. And so what I'd like to do now is just turn it over to Vice President Cash for her to say a few words, and then we'll finish up with a few questions that we had at the end here. So Arlene?
Thanks so much, President Nowacek, and welcome everyone. Really excited to say welcome to our newest Bobcats. We have, I understand, some of you who are in the class of 2024, so welcome to this. As you see, we are a university that wants to make sure that not only that you get into the university, but that you stay here and that you graduate. We are laser focused on that. Let me just really hit very quickly upon the question that someone had about Title IV eligibility, because that's very important if you're going to be applying for financial aid, but particularly in this case, where some of our students who are living on campus will be needing financial aid to help them with their cost for the singles. And you have to be Title IV eligible to get CARE Act money, CARE Act grant. So that really just means that you are a citizen of the United States, or that you are a permanent resident. If you are a young man, that you have applied to the Selective Services Program, and that you have done everything you needed to do to file for financial aid. It does not mean that you have to have received federal money, because a lot of students will say, well, I didn't get any federal money. You just have to be eligible for it. So you can go on our financial aid website to see all the requirements, but those are the basic ones: that you're not taking full-time, you're not in a full-time online program, and that you're a citizen or permanent resident. And so those are the most important parts of it. I also want to talk a little bit about what we're doing to make sure students can come back. Someone asked if they want to defer coming. Sure, we understand that if either you're nervous about coming in this year, or you're a student currently here and you want to just take the year off or a semester off, that's fine. Just let us know. If you're a new student and you want to wait to come maybe till the spring semester or next fall, just let the Office of Admissions know. We will hold your deposit. That's not a problem whatsoever. And we will work with you. So if you're able to take classes at a community college, let us know where you're going. Let us know the classes you want to take so that you can transfer every single one of them back here, and you won't lose any time toward your degree. We really want you to graduate in your 4 years. And so that's really important. If you do decide to take some classes at a community college, let us know so that we can make sure you're taking transferable classes and they can go towards your graduation. Happy that the success coaches are really working for students. As those of you who are currently enrolled, moving on to your second year, as you know, it's a program for first-year students. So sure, you can stay in touch with your success coach, but we're hoping that you're moving forward with strength and empowered and knowing the resources here. Of course, they'll be around to chat with you. And those students who are new and you have been working with your success coaches just to help you with the transition, they'll be here, they'll be ready to help you out. So once again, we want to make sure you have everything you need to move forward and to be successful at the university. Really, I just want to say welcome to our new Bobcats. We have our CAR program and our PASS program, our tutoring program. Just so you know, the tutors will be available to students, and they'll be available virtually. You'll be able to make appointments with them just like when you were on campus. If for some reason you're not on campus, you can make appointments with them. And even if you are on campus and you don't want to come to campus for tutoring because it's too close, you can make appointments with them virtually, and they will work with you through Teams or through the telephone. So we're just trying to make sure all of our resources are here to make sure that you are successful and that you're able to move forward this year and then finally towards your degree. Thank you.
Thank you, Arlene. Appreciate that. And thanks for the suggestions to individuals. Again, I'm seeing some questions here with regard to students may not be able to come back August 17th for some reason. That's why I would like you to reach out to us. Let us know at fall2020@frostburg.edu, and we will try to accommodate that and work with it and see how we can help you with those weeks where if there's a reason why you can't be here, we can help you work through that. Couple questions that I'm going to go through quickly here. Artie, I'm going to throw a question to you in a second, just so you're ready for it. But question, what about organization events? And will campus organizations be able to take day trips off campus? I think I know the answer to that, but I'll let you tackle that in a second. I've got one question here that I've got the answer to, and I would not still be here as president if I asked this. Question is, will Starbucks be open in the fall? Oh, you better believe it will be. I don't think we can go without Starbucks being all open on campus. It would be a near riot. So you can count on Starbucks being all open. Another question about whether will buffets be eliminated, more than likely. Again, that we'll leave that to Chartwell's, and they will follow the recommendations that they're getting nationally for what they should be doing in terms of food service and things. Again, everything we're doing, we're following, please understand, we're following the guidelines. There was a question, are we following COVID cases across the country? Yes, fortunately, most of our students come from Maryland, Pennsylvania, Delaware, West Virginia, and Virginia, and Ohio. So we know the states where most of our students are coming from and the areas they're coming from. But again, we are monitoring what's occurring around the region as well as the country in terms of students coming to campus. With that, can I throw that question to you and ask you to talk about campus organizations and at least the fact that you have a committee looking at that issue?
As the president indicated, there are many work groups. One work group is looking at activities. In fact, Mr. Robert Cooper, who's our director of student activities, is leading that group to look at how we can safely provide the services and the experiences for students in the fall. That is still a touch and go situation. We're still looking for guidance and guidelines as far as gatherings. One of the questions, I guess, was whether or not we're going to be making any off-campus trips. Again, that's going to depend on the social distancing guidelines. If we get a large bus and we put 10 people on it, as long as we're going to a safe place, we probably will try to do that. Otherwise, with student organizations, we're going to try to do a mix of virtual and ask students as best as possible with their student advisors, with their groups, to do meetings online. We do have the Lane Center that will be open. We have a couple large spaces where we can do social distancing and have meetings. But at this point, those are the things that we're working on. The first big test is going to be more than likely our student organization fair, to see how we will do that virtually. That's a very popular activity, an event at the beginning of the school year, to make sure that all the students know what some of the groups and organizations are. Student groups have been meeting, have been talking with their advisors, again, virtually. So we're still trying to use the best guidance to make sure that you have the best experiences possible in these times.
Thank you, Vice President Travis. Appreciate that. Arlene, I'm going to throw that question. You asked the question that you wanted to follow up, and I'll throw that to you in a second. But I want to just bring up something. One question. I'm just going through a number of these questions, the ones that I know I can answer fairly quickly. I'm trying to tackle. Has a decision been made about homecoming? More than likely, we will not be having homecoming, but that decision has not been finalized yet. We'll make a decision by July 1st on that. One of the things we're concerned about is that we typically bring back the class of 50 years for the golden anniversary for them. We want to be very careful about inviting people back to campus who may be at risk. So we are looking at whether or not we are going to have homecoming in October. We should have an answer on that in the next couple of weeks. So that's one thing. But I will tell you right now, there's just we're having a lot more problems saying yes than saying no to some of the ideas we've got there. Another question was, what about if somebody does test for COVID? Let me walk you through the best scenario that I see happening. If we have somebody who we identified as having the virus, that individual, if it's a student, we have already contracted with a hotel off campus that has reserved a wing of its hotel for us to house individuals so they can be isolated in a place if they've been tested positively for the COVID. So we will not keep that student on campus. There will be no COVID dorm or wing on campus. We will have that individual stay off campus. Meals will be provided to that individual through the university. We did that before with service in April. Chartwell's did a very good job of delivering food to residence halls. So we will make accommodations for that. As soon as we identify a case like that, we will certainly or if the health department tells us they've discovered a case, they will follow up with the contact tracing to contact students students and faculty who may have come in contact with that student. And that's part of the contact tracing that we talked about earlier. Again, knowing where students go and being able, the important part of the contact tracing, from my understanding of it, is that you act quickly, because then you can actually identify individuals and do some of the isolation. That point will be turned over to the health department, and we'll work with the health department to make sure that individuals are notified following the protocol that the health department has established. Okay, Arlene, did I give you enough time to answer the question that you had?
Thanks so much, President Nowacek. Very quickly, someone who was interested in applying for fall 21 asked about the SAT requirement. So because so many students are not able to take the SAT or the ACT, we will waive that requirement. You do not have to submit SAT or ACT scores to us. So yay for you. Thank you.
And again, I also saw a couple questions come up with questions about housing. Please direct those to Residence Life. If you have individual cases, we will work with you best we can on this. This is, again, a moving target in terms of what we can do for on-campus housing and where you're located. There was one question about cleaning bathrooms. And again, we're going to follow the guidelines, the recommendations we're getting from the health experts. In suite style housing, bringing in the assumption right now, and it could change if we get different guidance from the health experts, but if students are in a suite style where there's only 2 students using a particular bathroom or 3 students using a particular bathroom, they're the only ones that are coming in contact with that bathroom. As soon as we bring somebody in from the outside to clean that bathroom, and then they go to another bathroom that's down the hall, there's a possibility of all sorts of transmission that we don't want to get into. So the recommendations we've gotten to this point is that we will be cleaning the public areas. We will be cleaning the public restrooms that are on the residence halls as well as on campus, the classrooms, computer rooms, following the protocol they recommend. But we want to avoid going into individual private rooms and private bathrooms to do anything in there, for the sake of making sure that we are both protecting our people, but also the staff, but also protecting the students from any exposure. So again, thank you for that question, but we will follow and we will work through. We're taking it very seriously. We're looking to see what the health experts are recommending we do in moving through this. We're also looking, again, there'll be signs up on campus. We will be asking students to, and fact, as I mentioned, students, faculty, and staff to sign an agreement that says, yes, I understand I have responsibilities on this campus as a good campus and community citizen, and I will abide by those. So please, let's hope that we do find people working through that. This has been an experience that none of us in our lifetimes have experienced. We'll get through it, we'll work through it, and I think we'll be better for it at the other end of this, but we'll just hope the vaccine comes along quickly, but we'll work through it and try to give everybody as best of an experience as we can here at the university. My commitment to you again is, well, first of all, thank you. And you saw the slide up. Individual questions, please feel free to reach out to us, fall 2020 at frostburg.edu. And I guess in terms of what I would like to share with everybody, again, thank you for taking your time to be on with us. I'm heartened by the fact that there is a commitment from so many to continue their education here at Frostburg State. This school means so much to so many people and to the community that we want to make it successful. Please rest assured, my commitment is a safe environment and one where students can succeed. So we're going to work as best we can, and in many of these cases, we know it's going to be a one-on-one kind of discussion. We're committed to having those discussions with you. The best part about this school is that we're not that large that we can't help each individual family work through this. So we will work with you as best we can. So with that, I'm going to conclude. I will tell you that the questions have been raised. You will see frequently asked questions on our website. Please go to our website to see answers to some of the questions that are coming up. We will also plan on having another one of these town halls in July, sometime after the 4th of July. We'll schedule another one as we have more information and help people answer additional questions that may be coming up as we learn more about the situation both here on campus, but also things that are changing in the state. So once again, I want to thank you for being part of this. Thank you for your commitment and your interest in Frostburg State University. And please be safe and have a good summer as we move forward, and a safe summer as we move forward. Thank you for being with us, and I'll say go Bobcats. Thank you.